when I woke up the next morning, I looked in the mirror and I just felt blah. I was probably 30 pounds overweight. I had bags under my eyes. I was tired. I was irritable. In that moment in the IHOP, I just said, you know what? I'm going to take 30 days off. And in 30 days, I dropped 13 pounds.
Wow.
Most people have social anxiety about explaining to people that they're alcohol free. If you just show up confident and you just share that through your energy, that will influence people more than you going, oh yeah, I know, I wish I could have a drink, but I can't.
Why is your program so successful?
AA has reportedly a less than 10% success rate. I have a program called Project 90. We use neuroscience, we use positive reinforcement, positive psychology, and the results of that was a 98% reduction in drinking from the study participants. I'm going to show you my before photo.
No way. Good God.
That's crazy, huh? There are millions of people walking around mistakenly believing that they are an alcoholic. In the modern world, in modern medicine, the term alcoholic no longer exists. It's now alcohol use disorder. Also, the American Psychiatric Association has a 10-point checklist to determine if someone has an alcohol use disorder.
How do you coach people through those awkward and uncomfortable situations? I don't often do this, but I think sometimes it's important to kind of read a bio, to just land for, some of the work that you're doing. And then we'll get much deeper into that. But I just want to kind of set the stage for everyone listening today. James Swanwick is an Australian entrepreneur, author, and wellness advocate who is passionate about helping individuals live their best lives through healthier choices. As the founder of Swanwick Sleep, he created blue light blocking glasses to optimize sleep and improve mental clarity. James has become a leading voice in promoting alcohol-free living, helping countless people quit drinking through his 30-day no alcohol challenge and Project 90. His mission is to empower others to break free from self-destructive habits and unlock their true potential by focusing on mental, physical, and emotional well-being. James's journey of transformation has taken him from a successful career in sports journalism at ESPN and TV hosting to becoming a sought-after speaker and health entrepreneur. His personal experience of quitting alcohol has inspired a movement around sober living with a focus on profound benefits of clarity, productivity, and mental health. Through his work, James helps people redefine their relationship with alcohol, optimize their sleep, and ultimately create healthier, more fulfilling lives. I mean, that's pretty dope. I mean, that's quite a bio. If I do say so myself. This is, in kind of getting ready for today, I've kind of looked through your journey and am fascinated at all the different things that have helped inform where you are today. And I think it's not always typical. A lot of people have a few different chapters in their lives at this stage. And you've seemed to have, kind of followed a different path. And I'm just kind of curious to get into that. We talked about it a little bit before we started here about, you had a 2-year stint at ESPN, which was incredible, amazing, a lifelong dream. And you found out it actually wasn't aligned with kind of who you are and your soul's purpose.
Yeah, I grew up in Australia. And when I was 15, my mother would bring home a video camera for me and my 2 younger brothers to play with during the summer holidays. And it was one of those old video cameras where you kind of rested on your shoulder. Like this is back in 1990.
Yeah.
And we would pretend to be cops and robbers and we'd play out these kind of like dramatic scenes on the videos. And the home videos, watching them now years later, it's just amazing. But I would pretend to be a news anchor. I'd pretend to be a sports anchor. Mm-hmm. And it was just my dream to always host a television show at some point in my life. And this is when I'm 14, 15 years old.
Dang.
When I was age 35 in 2010, I had an opportunity to audition to become a sports center anchor on ESPN. And that coincided with the fact that I had been alcohol free for about 2 months at that stage. So I had clarity and focus and energy. And when I was introduced to this ESPN producer, I just said, I'm going for it. I had no television experience.
Oh, you hadn't?
No experience. I mean, I had journalism experience. I'd been a newspaper reporter and I'd covered politics and industrial relations and crime and things like that, but never sport and never on camera. But I got introduced to an ESPN producer from a friend of mine, and I'd been 2 months alcohol free, and I went, that's it. This is my chance. I'm going for it. And I went to Bristol, Connecticut. I auditioned, did a terrible audition. The producer said, no, we're not going to hire you. And I said, can I come back tomorrow and give it another shot? And he kind of begrudgingly said, yeah, sure, come back. I went back the next day, and the next day I nailed it. And to my utter bewilderment, they put me on camera 2 weeks later. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. And I hosted SportsCenter on ESPN for 2 years, from 2010 to 2012. It was incredible, the realization of a childhood dream. And I did it in America, of all places, you know, as an Australian living over in the US to make my television debut on arguably the most iconic TV sports news show.
Yeah.
Was just like, wow, this is incredible. And I credit getting that job to a lot of things, but mostly at that time to being alcohol free.
Yeah. So many questions. First of all, what was it after that first audition that gave you the confidence that you could come back and do it differently? And how did you prepare differently?
The first audition, I was incredibly nervous. I'd never been in a TV studio before. Hadn't seen bright lights and directors, and I had an earpiece in my ear, and I'm looking down a camera, and there's a red light, and there's sound people. I'm like, oh, I don't belong here. I'm so nervous. Like, I really want it, but I'm completely out of my element. And then I realized I was out of my element. I realized that I was nervous, and I realized that was coming through in my performance. And I knew what the producer was going to say, because we went back to his office and we kind of put the tape in and we looked at it, and it was horrendous. And I'm sitting there going, man, this is my only shot here. This is bad. I've got to do anything I can to get another go at
How
this.
tough was it to watch it?
I was excruciating.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was nervous. I was like stumbling on my words. I wasn't confident. And in that moment, I was just saying to myself, just do it again, do whatever you can to do it again. And so I made the request, and thankfully he agreed to it. And I literally came back the next day. Now, the next day, part of the reason why I crushed it in the second audition was because I said to myself, James, just relax. Do it the way you did it when you were 15 years old back in 1990, back in Brisbane, Australia with your brothers, when you were just having fun and you were just playing around and it didn't matter who was watching. You were just having fun with your mum's home video. And I was like, okay, James, we can do this. And so the red light went on, the director went 3, 2, 1, and then I delivered what I had to deliver and I crushed it. And the producer obviously saw something in that, to the extent, like I said 2 weeks ago, I had a job offer and there I was. I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is incredible.
Well, and it sounds like there's another element to it too. Is like you got back to the joy of why you wanted to do it, and what drew you to the profession, you know, to being in front of the camera in the first place, is you were back being a kid. And
yes.
It's like, that is like such an overarching theme, I think, in my life. When I can tap into that part of me, it just opens up. You didn't care who was watching, and you just get to be a kid without a lot of the conditioning that, you know, we take on as adults.
Childlike play. And even if you remove the childlike word and just focus on play, it's just play. But when we become adults, we lose sight of that, don't we? We get serious. It's like that scene that the Joker says in The Dark Knight, why so serious?
Yes.
And I get a lot of clients on coaching calls with my Stop Drinking organization. And I sometimes I say to them, why so serious? Because they're turning up so serious. And a lot of what we do to try to get them back into joy and reducing their stress and reducing their anxiety is getting them to reconnect to play. So yeah, I think in that moment it was just play, play like I did as a kid. That must have come through in my tonality and my mannerisms and my delivery. And, I'm going to be 50 this year. I've never played more than this last few years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me this, the very first time you were on like real camera, what did that feel like? Were you able to go right back into that second audition energy?
The first night I made my Sports Center debut, I felt like I was walking to the guillotine to get my head chopped off. I was so nervous. I must have urinated 50 times that day.
Yeah.
Just like thinking about it, nervous about it. I kid you not. I reckon if there was a camera outside of the ESPN bathroom, they would have seen me going in and out 50 times. Yeah. That's how nervous I was. And the time came to walk down. It was about 9:55 p.m. We were going on air at 10. And I'm walking down with my co-anchor and the director and the producer. And I just felt like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. And I sat down there and I put the earpiece in and the camera was there. And my leg was kind of like, knee was shaking like this.
Yeah.
And the same thing, I said to myself, just relax, just do it like you did when you were a kid. And I did it. You can actually see that audition on YouTube, actually. I posted it there years ago, 10 years ago. It's James Swanwick makes his Sports Center debut. And it actually came out all right in the end, but I was nervous, really nervous.
Oh, we'll definitely link to that in the show notes. That'd be great for everyone to be able to watch. So let's get back to, was there something what was it? What was your light bulb moment 2 months prior where you said, this is not my ally anymore?
Yeah, in regards to alcohol.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Australia and I was a very socially acceptable drinker in the sense that I would have 2 or 3 drinks most nights of the week, and I would drink considerably more on the weekends. I wasn't getting a DUI. I didn't get arrested. I didn't wake up in a ditch. I wasn't what society would refer to as an alcoholic. I was just a socially acceptable drinker. And I did that from like age 16, 17 until age 35 when I found myself in Austin, Texas. I was at the 2010 South by Southwest Festival that year. I went out to an industry party. I had 2 Bombay Sapphire gin and tonics, went back to my hotel, went to sleep. And when I woke up the next morning, I looked in the mirror and I just felt blah. And when I say blah, I mean mediocre. I was probably 30 pounds overweight. I had bags under my eyes. I was tired. I was irritable. I was envious of other people. I was focusing on what I lacked rather than what I had. So I was living a life of expectation instead of appreciation.
Oof.
And I went next door from this hotel that I was staying at to an IHOP, International House of Pancakes.
Yeah.
And I walked in and I sat down and I'm looking out the window and there's this freeway that's running along the side of this IHOP. It wasn't a particularly pleasant view. And I sat down, I looked around and I saw some pretty unhealthy looking people eating all-you-can-eat pancakes and things like that. And it dawned on me, I'm like, what am I doing in an IHOP? And I looked out the window and I just thought, man, I'm so mediocre. And this drinking that I've been doing, even though I'm not an alcoholic, I'm not doing crazy things. I only had a couple drinks last night. This habit of drinking is the main culprit for this feeling of mediocrity. And so in that moment in the IHOP, I just said, you know what, I'm going to take 30 days off. Just try 30 days off. And to be clear, I hadn't taken more than a week off in 18 years of drinking.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I said, that's it. I'm not going to drink for 30 days. And in 30 days, I dropped 13 pounds, just fell off me.
Wow.
13 pounds just fell off me like that from not drinking alcohol. My skin cleared up. I started sleeping better. I realized that I started helping my friends proactively. It wasn't even in an intentional thought, but I just was calmer and I was more at peace. And I started helping my friends. Say, hey, can I help you? Who can I connect you with? And one of those friends that I helped was actually the guy that ended up introducing me to the ESPN producer.
Mm.
And I would go to a bar with my friends And I would tell them, I'm doing this 30-day not drinking thing. And they go, geez, you're so un-Australian. Just have a drink for goodness sake. And I was like, no, I'm not going to drink for 30 days, see how it goes. Anyway, I got to 30 days and I thought, this feels pretty good. I'm just going to keep going. And then, of course, I got the ESPN gig, and that gave me some further evidence that this alcohol-free thing might be beneficial.
Yeah.
And I kept going and going and going. And I got to a year later, on the exact anniversary, I was back at the 2011 South by Southwest Festival, and I went to the Luster Pearl Bar in Rainey Street in downtown Austin. And I walked in and I ordered a Budweiser for what I thought was going to be a celebratory one-year drink.
Yeah.
And I put the beer to my mouth, and at the last moment, I just paused and I put it down and I just thought about it. Wow, in 1 year, I've got my dream job hosting Sports Center on ESPN. I've attracted this great romantic relationship. She doesn't drink or drinks very modestly. I've run a half marathon. I've got the body that I think nature intended me to have. It wasn't like I was six-pack abs and completely ripped, but it was just like I felt energetic.
I like the way you worded that. There's a key nuance there.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
I was sleeping better. I was no longer as envious of other people. I still had some envy going on, but that dissipated a lot. When my parents would phone me from Australia, when I was drinking, I would be like, my parents are calling. They always call it at like the wrong time. Whereas now, when they were calling from Australia to catch up with their son who was living over on the other side of the world, I'm like, my mum's calling. Yeah, let me take this. And so I just realized that I had a lot more joy and calm and peace in my life. And so I literally called the barman over and I said, I'm not going to have it. And I tipped him and I walked out, and I haven't so much as picked up an alcoholic drink since. That was 2011. So I haven't drunk alcohol since 2010. And each year subsequently, my life has just felt so much better. And then in 2015, that turned into me creating a business and an organization, which is now called Alcohol Free Lifestyle. And we help mostly high achievers like executives and business owners and CEOs and people of that mindset to finally stop drinking without AA, without rehab, without willpower. And it's turned into, a mission for me now where I get to help people to dehypnotize themselves around the altar of alcohol, because society really glorifies this thing for the most part. And because of that, people have been saving marriages, and they're now more present with their children. They've been sleeping better, feeling better. And now it gives me immense joy to be able to support folks to stop drinking.
That's amazing. By the way, you the 15 years coming up. I mean, this will come out after year 50. It's got to be in March, right?
March 10th. Yeah, it's in a week and a half from now.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that. There's so much to unpack there. I think your story and your relationship to alcohol, you'd know better than me because you've been in this space for a long time, but it feels resonant for a lot of people. And so it doesn't on the surface look like a problem, because I'm not a quote unquote alcoholic. I haven't had to go to rehab. Very functioning in quotes, obviously. What has been your experience? What draws people in? Like, what's the hook for people that is their light bulb moment that, like, James is speaking like truth, and it's like, it's time for me after 10, 15, 30, 40 years to look at this, substance with new eyes. And how challenging is it for them when their tribe is very much in that kind of soup?
Yes. So let's go back to when we roamed the earth in tribes of 160 people. You may have heard of Dunbar's tribe, where he says that we used to be in tribes and groups of 160. So back then, if you were ostracized from the tribe for whatever reason, it meant certain death, because a wolf or a bear would eat you, or a rival tribesman would kill you. And so we still carry that fear in our reptilian brain today in the modern world. We have this fear of being ostracized from the tribe. Mm-hmm. And we associate that with death. Our whole nervous system is like, that's scary. That's fear. And so today in the modern world, if we're someone who's considering stopping drinking and all of our friends, family, colleagues, and society are drinking and normalizing drinking, stopping drinking triggers that reptilian brain fear from when we roamed the earth as in tribes of 160 people. It's like, if I stop drinking, I'm going to be ostracized from society. I'm going to be dull. I'm going to be boring. I won't get invitations. People will think I'm an alcoholic. People will think I've got a problem. People will turn their back on me. I won't be able to create romance. I won't be able to create friendships. I won't be able to fit in. It's completely unrealistic because we live in the modern world. And even if you did get kicked out of a modern tribe, you just join another one.
Yeah.
There's no bear or wolf trying to kill you, and there's no tribesman trying to murder you. And there are increasing tribes of people who are health conscious, who are into wellness, like you are, right? Who are into personal development, a growth mindset, great nutrition, getting sunlight, moving your body, living a life of appreciation instead of expectation. There are so many of those tribes out there. But nevertheless, why people who are pondering stopping drinking have so much trouble doing so is because of that reptilian brain fear. So it becomes very challenging. My work is to try to invite folks to understand that there are tribes of people ready to embrace them, and that the tribe that they're in are not going to kick you out. In fact, most of the tribes that you're in who are drinking are actually curious, like, oh, you're not drinking? Tell me about that. Because they secretly want to have a better relationship with alcohol themselves. So that's where the fear comes from. It's very instinctive, but it's also irrational when you think about the modern world. Most of the reasons why the folks that I work with want to quit drinking is because they've been drinking for 20, 30, 40 years. And now they're facing a divorce, or they're not present with their children, whether they're young children or adult children. Maybe they're carrying 20, 30 pounds extra weight. Maybe they've gone to the doctor and the doctor says your blood pressure's too high. You've got acid reflux. Your cholesterol's too high. They've lost confidence in themselves. And they've tried repeatedly over the years to moderate their drinking, but the slippery slope always gets them and they find themselves drinking more than what caused them to try to stop in the first place. So there's a few things there to unpack, but that's the resistance. And then the motivation to stop is usually relationships with a husband, a wife, or children.
Yeah, geez. You know, I've had my own journey with alcohol, and back in 2004, I, on some level had the world by the balls, was doing great in my job, married. We just had our first child and found myself depressed. And, the classic, like, what do I have to be depressed about? And, but went and saw a psychiatrist, and he's like, look, you don't need to quit drinking, but you really need to dial it back. Like a couple on Friday, couple on Saturday. So very much like you were saying, like couple every night. And then on the weekends, I dial it up a little bit. And I tried that for 2 or 3 weeks. And then I started to realize, like, why am I even drinking at all? Like, I'm not getting anything out of the 2 I'm having on a Friday or on Saturday. And I just feel better. And so I got a bit like angry at alcohol, like that I was even in a relationship. And so I went for about 10 years without drinking and slowly got reintroduced. And I would say for the next, I don't know, up until a couple of years ago, was just off and on with it. Always in a decent mostly in a decent relationship with it, I would say. And then just finally had I don't even like the taste of it. Like it doesn't do, like I'd rather, frankly, microdose mushrooms or something like that if I want to feel differently. And so I'd say largely for the past couple of years, I haven't touched it. And, me being 53 and been through that journey, it's pretty easy for me to be around socially and not drink. Frankly, a lot of the people I hang out with in Austin do not drink. That's not a prerequisite by any means. It's just that they have similar kind of awarenesses around what, the kind of the energetics of alcohol. But one of the things that was challenging, and I certainly kind of fought through it in the early days, was being sober in a community that was very not sober. And so, we were sharing before we started that I go up to Idaho every summer for 2 months, play golf. We have a bunch of fun, amazing friends. Alcohol is everywhere throughout the golf round, at night. It's very prevalent. And so I felt pretty awkward. We're new members. I'm sober. And it's not exactly the vibe there. Now, I'm into health and wellness. And, there's a fair amount of pro athletes and former pro athletes that are up there. And frankly, I just looked better than almost all of them. And so at least I had that going for me, that it was like, okay, we get it. You're not such an outcast. Like there's a rhyme to the reason here. But a lot of people don't have, and I still felt awkward. A lot of people don't have that. They're just kind of, frankly, more normal looking in that sense, right? They don't have this, like, I'm into health and wellness and it's really important. It's like what you were saying, like, I'm just trying this thing. And I've found there were people that would project onto me how they felt about themselves and wanting me to drink to make themselves feel better because it was a bad reflection. And so, like, how do you coach people through those, frankly, awkward and uncomfortable, kind of situations?
It doesn't matter what you say about you not drinking. It only matters how you say it. So most people have social anxiety about explaining to people that they're alcohol free, that they're not drinking, because of what you referenced there, because they worry that people are going to look at them, judge them, challenge them, try to get them to drink anyway. And I say, if you just show up confident, happy in your choice to be alcohol free, and you just share that through your energy, that will influence people more than you going, oh yeah, I know, I wish I could have a drink, but I can't. Oh, I've been sober for 2 years. Oh yeah, I wish I could join you guys in the fun, but I can't. When you're doing that, you're reinforcing this idea that drinking is fun and not drinking is pain. But if you just show up with a smile on your face and go, I'm alcohol free. Yeah, I'll have soda water. Thanks. That'd be great. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'll go drink for drink with you. You have one of those beers and I'll drink this soda water shot.
Yeah.
And you're just lighthearted about it. They've done a lot of studies of influence. And what they've shown is that influencing anyone is only 7% what you say and 93% how you say it. So when you break that down, 7% of the influence that you can exert on someone else are the words. 93% is how you deliver those words with tonality, body language, mannerisms. So it doesn't matter what you say about you choosing not to drink. It's mostly irrelevant. It's just, how do you come across? How is your energy? How is that energy transferred onto those who are drinking? And if you're just lighthearted and confident and fun, everyone can relax, including the people who are drinking. But if you go in there and you're like, I feel kind of awkward because I'm the only one not drinking and the other guys are, because it sounded like you felt awkward in that situation. Yeah. Well, now you're associating on an unconscious level, not drinking is pain and drinking is fun.
Yeah.
But I would submit it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Not drinking is fun.
Yeah.
And drinking is pain. It's just there are smiling assassins everywhere. And the smiling assassins is anyone offering you a drink or smiling as they're drinking. Hey, can I get you a drink? Hey, Carl, would you like a beer? Do you want to have a wine? It's the waiter or the waitress when you walk into a restaurant and they say, hello, Mr. Carl, can I get you started with a glass of shame and regret? Hello, Mr. James, can I get you about 10 pounds of unwanted body fat? How would you like some poor sleep tonight and a glass of irritability in the morning? And that's what they're doing, right? They're doing it with a smile on their face.
Yeah. Wow.
So I think if you can just go into social situations, refrain from this awkwardness that you shared that you were feeling, and just go in there happy and confident. You're not there to change anyone's opinion about alcohol. You're not there to get on your high horse and lecture anyone. You're just there to have a good time with people, irrespective of if they're drinking or not. And if you go in there, they will feel that energy and everyone can relax and have a good time.
I love that. And it actually, as you were sharing that, I couldn't help but think about the same applies very much so to parenting and with the kids. And it's just like, it doesn't really matter what I say. It's how I show up and how I say it and the space I create for them, whether it's safety or acceptance or whatever it may be in that moment. And then I have their attention because you're right. What's coming out of the mouth doesn't matter. It's like, what is the energy exchanged between us?
Yes.
And the nervous system just relaxes.
Yes. And you've experienced that.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can see it and you can feel it.
Yeah.
Most people mistakenly believe that their social circle cares that they're not drinking.
Yeah.
They don't care. Nobody really cares. They're so busy thinking about themselves and their own life. And even if a small percentage of people do care, that's on them. It's not on you. You're not the cause of them caring. They're the cause of them caring. So I just say, like, relax. Why so serious?
Yeah.
Just be alcohol free and own it. I mean, I've been alcohol free since 2010. No one would ever accuse me of being dull and boring and anxious about it. I'm just like, yeah, I'm alcohol free. I feel good. And whether people are drinkers or not drinkers, they're like, okay, cool.
Yeah. I love that. Why is your program so successful? What is the secret sauce? Whatever. There's a reason that people have tried many other avenues with not near the success that you've had. What is it?
So AA has reportedly a less than 10% success rate if you gauge success in terms of helping someone to have long-term power over drinking. There was a book called The Sober Truth in 2012 by Dr. Lance Dodds, who worked out of Harvard's McLean Hospital. And he described AA's actual success rate as one of the worst in medicine. Now, that is not to say that it hasn't helped tens of millions of people. It absolutely has. But according to studies, it's been ineffective for 10 times as many people who've tried it. Willpower is probably the least effective strategy for trying to stop drinking.
White knuckling it. Yeah.
White knuckling it, willpower, motivation. A lot of studies suggest that has also a less than 10% success rate. And if you're someone who's ever tried to do moderation or dry January or sober October, you may have had some success. But when you do those challenges or you do moderation, again, it feels painful. You'd rather be drinking, which is why when you get to day 30 on those 30-day challenges, most people tend to celebrate with what? A drink.
Yes.
Because they associate not drinking with being in a prison.
Totally.
And what do all prisoners want to do? They want to get out of prison, right?
Yes.
So AA, rehab as well, very, very low success rate, less than 10%, and willpower and white knuckling at less than 10%. I have a program called Project 90. In 2022, the University of Washington conducted a scientific study on our stop drinking process. We use neuroscience, we use positive reinforcement, positive psychology. And the results of that was a 98% reduction in drinking from the study participants. Now, I can't compare it apples for apples because the less than 10% success rate for AA is judged over the course of at least a year, whereas our program was judged over 90 days. So it's not an exact comparison. However, a 98% reduction in drinking for a stop drinking program is profound. In fact, one of the world's leading addiction experts, Professor David Bellin out of Cambridge University, he read through the study and he described it as groundbreaking. Now, why is it so successful? There's a few reasons. In AA, for example, which is the traditional modality, and with white knuckling it and willpower, it's hard. It's tough. You're lamenting the past. You're thinking about what's wrong. You're making amends. In AA, you're surrendering to a higher power. You're working a 12-step program. And candidly, when you go to an AA meeting, you're probably sitting next to someone that you have absolutely nothing in common with. Nobody who's like in their 40s, 50s, 60s wanting to stop drinking alcohol really desires to sit next to a 19-year-old meth addict who's holding up a gas station. Now, of course, we support that person, but how can you relate to their life experience? It's completely different. So in our program, we put a bunch of like-minded people together. So it's not a community, it's a like-minded community. So we put together high achievers, executives, CEOs, business owners, salespeople, physicians, attorneys, lawyers, doctors. You'd be shocked at how many doctors have a bad relationship with alcohol. It's frightening.
Mm-hmm.
And we put them in a community, and then we give them positive reinforcement, and we show them what they're choosing. We invite them to choose an alcohol-free lifestyle as opposed to saying no to alcohol. So when we focus on what we want and what is desirable and what is fun, as opposed to focusing on what we don't want, which is painful, the mind and the body can head in this direction easily.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of study of neuroscience that shows that if you tell yourself not to do something, you tend to do that very thing. For example, if you're skiing down a mountain and you're saying to yourself, don't steer towards the trees or don't fall over, you tend to steer towards the trees and fall over.
Mm-hmm.
But why? Because you're telling yourself what not to do. And it's because what we understand about the human brain now is that the brain doesn't understand the don't do this. It only understands trees fall down. So over here in an alcohol-free lifestyle, we say to them, no longer will you say, don't drink, I need to stop, I have to quit, I've got to be sober. Instead, we say, I'm only going to drink soda water, ice, and a piece of lime tonight. I'm going to walk up to the bar and confidently order a soda water with a splash of cranberry juice. I love going to sleep being alcohol-free. I love the feeling when I wake up in the morning having drunk soda water at dinner the night before. I'm choosing to get up in the morning and have appreciation instead of expectation. So we're choosing over here. And that encourages a group of people who are like-minded to have a common goal or heading in a common direction. And that is a heck of a lot easier than don't drink, I need to stop, I've got to be sober, oh, I've got a problem with alcohol. That keeps you stuck in the past and candidly keeps you stuck drinking. This creates a new habit, a new way of thinking with positive psychology, new healthy habits, gratitude, sunlight, walking, mobility, focusing on a great night's sleep, conscious communication, personal development, growth mindset. Now we're heading towards this direction. And now the consequence of that is we're alcohol free.
Wow. And I got to imagine that it does not take but a day or two for people to be like, this is a completely different lens that I'm looking at the world through. And so then that just begets more like, I don't want to say compliance, but more just going towards those things that you want.
Yes. It's just smooth sailing the whole way. It's like, where are we going? We're going here. Okay, great. As opposed to, oh, where do we not want to go? Okay, don't go that way. Don't go that way.
Right.
Oh, why are we going this way?
Yeah, yes, totally.
Yeah.
It's so, it just gets into our field. The don't, you're right. I can totally sense that. It's like, don't go to the bar. Don't look at the alcohol. It's just those words, bar, alcohol, are just spinning in your mind.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And also, I would submit when we focus too much on the past and we're lamenting in the past, as you do a lot in AA, it keeps us stuck in an identity.
Okay, so this is, I've never sat in those meetings, but the thing that I've never been able to wrap my head around is, hi, my name is Cal and I'm an alcoholic. I mean, just grounding into that identity. And it just seems like so outdated.
There are millions of people walking around mistakenly believing that they are an alcoholic. You are not an alcoholic. In fact, in the modern world, in modern medicine, the term alcoholic no longer exists. It's now alcohol use disorder. Okay. Now, for years, it was, I'm an alcoholic. I experience alcoholism. Alcoholism runs in my family. But in modern medicine, that is gone. It's gone. And why? Because it keeps people stuck in an identity that doesn't serve them. You are not an alcoholic. You may be experiencing an alcohol use disorder, but that's temporary. Whereas I'm an alcoholic suggests, oh, I'm a victim of this disease. I'm powerless over this disease, which is what they do in AA. Cal, I would submit you never wanted to walk into an AA meeting and say, hi, my name's Carl and I'm an alcoholic. And that probably didn't resonate with you. Even if you were drinking too much for an extended period of time, saying I'm an alcoholic still doesn't resonate with you. And yet people are mistakenly believing that they are, being stuck in that identity and therefore taking actions which perpetuate this, I'm a victim, I'm stuck, I can't drink, I need to stop. And then of course that becomes easier then to drink because you're focusing on what you shouldn't do.
Yeah, back to that point. Yeah.
Back to the perpetual cycle. And so I noticed that you used the phrase sober and sobriety previously. We don't use that verbiage at Alcohol-Free Lifestyle.
Okay.
We don't say sober, sobriety. We don't say clean. We don't say recovery. We don't use power. We're powerless over a disease. Powerless. You are powerful.
Yeah.
That's the change. That's the difference. You're powerful. Imagine walking around saying, I'm powerless over this disease. What a crock of shit. You are powerful. And I think that with some very simple mind rewiring techniques, knocking alcohol off the altar that we put it there and we're bowing down to it, and understanding the true health consequences of consuming it, but then also appreciating how much better life gets to be without it, we can very quickly rewire our whole mindset around alcohol and choose easily and effortlessly to be alcohol free, as opposed to, I've really got to struggle to be sober. I'm in recovery.
It's heavy. Yeah.
It can be, especially for folks who have been in AA and it's worked, or for folks who are related to folks who've gone AA and it's worked. Because when I say that, the feedback I get is that it's very challenging. And I get criticized a lot by what I refer to as AA disciples. And they say that I'm causing genocide because I'm out there introducing other ways in which to get power over alcohol, which aren't AA. So they say, you're killing millions of people by encouraging them to turn their back on AA. AA is free. It's helped millions of people. I said, I agree. It's free and it's helped millions of people. But that represents 7% of the people who've tried it. It's failed for 93% of people who've tried it. Here are some other ways. Not just my way, by the way, not just my stop drinking process. You can get there through what you were referencing earlier. Saunas, cold plunges, sunlight, gratitude, journaling, like-minded community. If you're a man and you're overweight and you want to get six-pack abs, hang out with 5 other guys who've got six-pack abs. In 3 months, you'll have six-pack abs because that's being in a like-minded community.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I want to ask, I'm guessing this is the case, but have you tried this? I'm sure people have reached out to you and say, I'm alcohol free and I want to try this with cigarette smoking or some other thing that they're struggling, that they're feeling disempowered by. What has been kind of your experience with those things?
Same process.
It is.
Yeah. Works for sex addiction, porn, cigarettes, marijuana, weed, video games. Same process. It's just a rewiring of the mindset. Instead of, I'm giving up this thing, what are you getting over here?
Yeah.
Instead of, I've got to sacrifice video games and porn and weed and et cetera. It's like, I get clarity and focus and energy and great sleep and a great new friends network and joy over here. And I get that it's challenging because cultural conditioning has us believe that alcohol is fun and weed is fun and video games are fun, but the consequences are pretty dire. There was a 2022 study out of the UK of 35,000 middle-aged adults, and it showed that even one seemingly innocent drink per night, so just 7 standard drinks a week, was enough to destroy gray and white matter in the brain. The headline for that is that 1 drink a night causes some level of brain degeneration. That should be a wake-up call. Also, the American Psychiatric Association has a 10-point checklist to determine if someone has an alcohol use disorder. Let me ask you this question, Cal. Did you ever think or realize that you were drinking too much and you had a desire to stop?
Yes.
And did you have that feeling for many months, different phases of your life?
For sure.
So according to the American Psychiatric Association, just because you answered yes to 2 of those 10 questions, you were experiencing a mild alcohol use disorder. Let that sink in. Because I would submit most people are drinking considerably more than what you were ever drinking. Most people are pouring themselves a bottle of wine each night and thinking it's no big deal, or going out and having a couple of drinks each night. No big deal. I'm fine. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not waking up in a ditch. Well, according to the American Psychiatric Association, you already have at least a mild alcohol use disorder. And according to what we now know about modern science, that is compromising your brain. It's definitely affecting your sleep. And when your sleep is affected, that causes what? Irritability, frustration. You snap at your wife or your husband. You're not as present with your kids. You're tired and lethargic, so you reach for a sugary food to give you a little bit of an energy boost.
Oh, yeah, I used to love that.
Now you put on a few more pounds from the extra calories. Now you start to feel a little bit more irritable. Maybe you're a little envious of other people. Now you're exhausted by mid-afternoon. And what do you start doing? Dreaming about having a drink so you can relieve yourself of the irritability and stress and anxiety that drinking has been causing.
Absolutely. I was in that loop for a while. Yeah, it's so interesting too, because for me, I've always been lean, kind of no matter like if I was in the depths of drinking it a decent amount or not, but where it showed up was my face. And I didn't realize it until I stopped drinking. And it was like my face got back to like match the rest of my body. It's like I had a fat face. Holy shit. Bloated and pasty. And
I'm going to show you a photo. You keep talking. I'm going to get a photo in my phone here.
Yes.
I'm going to show you my before photo, Cal.
So tell me this, do people come into the program strictly to be alcohol free? Like if someone wanted to come in and they wanted to be cannabis free, is there like, how do they go about that?
Yeah. So to be clear, we only support people with alcohol.
Yeah.
So we don't have a program or organization to help them with those other things like cannabis, etc. But the same system, the same process will absolutely work for them. And so, yeah, it's just strictly helping folks get off alcohol.
And so got it. I'm sure there's some element, of a handful of those folks have an interesting relationship with alcohol too, so they could kind of piggyback.
How do you feel like your life has transformed or improved by simply removing alcohol?
Well, you hit on this, but sleep is number one. And I think a lot of people, the one thing I do want to follow up on is this. I want to dispel this notion of functioning, because I think a lot of people think that they're functioning, and they are, but just not nearly at a level where they really could be.
Yeah.
And so sleep is number one. And then as you were saying, like great sleep begets like a great day.
I found my before photo, Cal. You want to see it?
Yes. No way. Good God.
That's crazy, huh?
Oh my gosh.
I was puffy. I was like I call this the marshmallow man photo. And you can see it's just mediocrity, right? It's like puffy face, carrying extra weight, bags under the eyes, crow's feet.
Yeah.
Just mediocre. Not rock bottom.
Nope.
Mediocre. Average.
Yep. Functioning.
Yeah. Functioning. Yeah.
The irritability was a big thing. Not that I still can get irritable, but like the irritability one of the biggest things was it being on the top of my priority list. When am I going to get to get home after work, put the Red Sox on and have a couple of these nice Belgian ales? When can I have that? Like, it's Saturday, college football's on, it's 11, like I'll have a beer. And it's just like, it was always about when can I have that next drink? And it wasn't me drinking 24 beers on a Saturday, but it was me just, when am I going to get that next hit? It was so prevalent, and I got so used to it that I didn't realize it was controlling so much of what I was going to do. Where are me and the guys going out tonight? Like, everything was about that. And when you zoom out and you step away from, kind of that avatar, you start to realize you were sleeping like shit, you were eating like shit, acting like kind of a dick. You were avoiding, time with your kids so you could sleep off a hangover. And it was like all the things that, I would say I'm not proud of it. It was part of my journey to realize that that's not the way.
Drinking alcohol is a time suck and a money drain. In relation to the time suck, think about all the time that you've been thinking about drinking, preparing for drinking, recuperating from drinking, judging your drinking, thinking about drinking, preparing for drinking, recuperating from drinking, judging your drinking, and so the cycle continues. Think about how much time that occupies in your mind. So much time.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a lot. And the consequences of that is self-confidence, trust in yourself, shame, regret, fear, uncertainty. Imagine if you eliminated all of that. What would be left? Well, what would be left is you get to live your life and you get to create that business that you've been dreaming of, or you get to make those extra sales calls at the end of the day, which results in another $100,000, $200,000 in revenue. You get to be more present with your kids who are drifting away from you because mum and dad aren't present with them anymore. How's that going to show up in their life? On and on and on and on it goes. So it occupies so much time in our minds, and the consequences of that is a lack of productivity, lack of connection with our husband or wife or our friends or our colleagues or our boss or our children. We procrastinate. We kick the can down the road. We don't sleep great. So we feel kind of like blah the next day, and feeling blah the next day makes us take certain actions. It's frightening. And I always say this to business owners especially. Your drinking habits are probably costing you millions of dollars. Even if you drink 2 drinks a night, most nights of the week, that's enough to disrupt your sleep. You wake up a little irritable, a little tired. Now you don't fire that person in your business, or you don't hire that person. You procrastinate on that strategic decision. You don't open up that other revenue stream. You don't make one additional sales call at the end of the day, which if one sales call, or rather if you made 5 additional sales calls per week, if one of those turned into a deal, that could be $20,000 depending on your business over the course of a year. You're looking at, $500,000, whatever it is in your business. There's a real tangible leaving money on the table when you are not operating at a 9 out of 10. You may not be rock bottom. You may not be what society refers to as an alcoholic, but you know that you're operating at a 5 or a 6 out of 10. And the difference between operating at a 5 and a 6 out of 10 and an 8 or 9 out of 10 can be millions of dollars. Especially if you're heading for a divorce. You know how expensive divorces can be?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And again, you don't even have to be having these shouting matches with your wife or your husband because of alcohol. It can just be you're not present with your husband or wife because of alcohol. And that's enough for the drift to get you. That's enough for you to head for divorce. That's very expensive. And then you got the consequences on the children. So many of my clients who come to me who are in their 50s and 60s lament the fact that they are no longer present with their adult children. To me, the definition of success is your kids wanting to spend time with you, wanting to take your call, wanting to phone you. Oof. But when you've been drinking for 30, 40 years, not as an alcoholic, but just consistently, and the mediocrity of life has got you, your kids see that. They experience that. They don't want to spend time with you. That is crippling.
Yeah, I would say that is kind of my guiding inspiration is that my relationship with my kids and how do my decisions impact that connection, and that I've always wanted to be the first call they make when the shit hits the fan and they've quote unquote fucked up. And because of acceptance and because look, your safety is number one, and we can deal with if you've made some bad decisions, but just know that I can handle it. I'm here for it. And when I'm preoccupied with all the stuff around alcohol, and it can also, this because you've been in this work, it can be other things too. It can be my work and the things that I'm being drawn to, maybe not out of soul's purpose, but out of ego. And then that's when I'm in my soul's purpose, everyone's a part of it in the family. But when I get too egoic, it's very much Cal doing this, siloed off, shut off. I've got to batten down the hatches. I've got to focus on this. And there's the time to obviously have, ultra focus. But I know that when I drift too far away from what I meant to be doing, I would say everyone suffers that disconnection. And, and so I just want to remind people it's not just a relationship with alcohol. It can be other substances. It can be your work. It could be fitness. It could be I've been there where I've been so into my quote unquote fitness, my health and wellness, when I wasn't actually doing my wellness any favors because my relationships were suffering. It's like that. What's more important in wellness than connection? So I love this conversation because alcohol, people can wrap their head around it. People have a relationship with it, and it's affected many people in very challenging ways, whether it's their personal relationship or the ones around them. And that's not the only thing that can get us off course and, heading towards that higher self and, really reaching that 9 out of 10 that you talk about. But I love it as a framework because it makes so much sense. It's beautiful. Yeah, I love this work that you're doing. And I'm so glad that Chris Dufay connected us and that you're here today. And
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You definitely have an incredible self-awareness. And that is one of the traits that folks need, candidly, in order to wake up and get off alcohol or recognize that they're so obsessed with their health and wellness that it's causing problems with their connection with their family. Could do. Because a lot of folks get off alcohol and then it doesn't happen often, but they can then go and put their focus onto something else, which still compromises their family. But you seem to have incredible self-awareness around that. So I acknowledge you for that.
Thank you. Tell me this. You've got the couple that's been married for 30 years and they've been drinking buddies since college. And this is something that they bond over. And yet they have enough self-awareness to be, your message is landing somewhere, but it's just starting to scratch the surface. How do you help them kind of open up that aperture and really take the necessary steps to say yes to this?
Yeah. Well, let me give you the worst case scenario of making positive change. There's a chapter in my book, which is called Clear, and it's titled The Uncomfortable Clarity of Your New Reality. And what the chapter talks about is sometimes it's not always sunshine and rainbows when you stop drinking in the beginning. Because when you remove alcohol, you have this clarity. And the clarity can mean I'm in the wrong marriage. And I've known this for 10 years, but I've just been kicking the can down the road and numbing myself with the alcohol. I knew this 10 years ago, but now I'm not drinking. Ooh, this clarity is very uncomfortable. I had a client come to me. She'd been married for almost 30 years. That's what happened with her. She came into the program. She stopped drinking. And on about day 45 or 46, she was on a coaching call. And she said, I'm loving being alcohol-free, and I've realized my marriage is over. I'm going to sit him down tonight and I'm going to tell him. That was heavy.
I can feel that.
And she did. They got divorced. And since then, she has absolutely blossomed. She started a argan oil business.
Mm-hmm.
She's doing what she always wanted to do. She's lost 20 or so pounds. I don't know what her romantic life is currently, but she absolutely knew from that uncomfortable clarity that her marriage needed to end. And so she did. But that's very confronting for people. Very, very confronting. And most of us aren't willing to go there.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Obviously, you're not advocating for a bunch of people getting divorced. And what do you say to those people that even have a sense that that could be on the other side of this? What would you say to give them, to help give them the courage that if that's the case, you know, kind of wouldn't you want to know that you're in the wrong marriage? Like what's on the other side of that? Besides this, you know, obviously this beautiful story of this woman who had the courage and had the clarity to be able to do that. What else could you offer?
You look like you work out. When you go to the gym and you do a bicep curl, you're deliberately and intentionally putting resistance against the muscle, against the bicep. You're lifting a heavy weight and you're breaking down the muscle fibers, knowing that in the days afterwards, that muscle is going to repair and it's going to come back stronger. Same thing with human beings and the choices that we make. We get to lean into our resistance. It may hurt. It may feel uncomfortable. Change often does. But when you provide that resistance, it's like, oh, I don't want to do this, but I'm doing it anyway. In the days and the months and the years and the decades afterwards, the muscle comes back stronger. You have grown as a person. You've become more courageous. You've stepped into the unknown and into the fear. And you have created health, wealth, love, happiness, clarity, peace of mind, confidence in your own decisions as a result of that. So it's not always easy, but that's where the most growth is. When you stop drinking alcohol, it can often feel like you're running through rose bushes and you're getting all bloodied and there are thorns coming in in and out of you everywhere. But then when you get through to the end and you get on the other side, it's kind of like that scene from the movie The Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
When Tim Robbins is kind of like crawling through the crap and the stuff and he comes out the other side and it's raining and he's finally free. That's how it will feel most likely. But you got to crawl through that football field of crap to get to the other side, to do the victory sign and stand there in the rain and go, wow, I've made a breakthrough. Now I've got clarity and focus and joy and connection with friends. And now I've pivoted to do what my heart really has always wanted me to do. So feeling stuck, I get it. But the only way out of that is by action. Don't be someone who sits in the stands watching people play on the court. Actually get on the court because that's where life happens.
Can you talk a little bit about the kind of framework of the 30-day challenge and Project 90?
So the 30-day challenge is really just to dip your toe into the water, so to speak. it's not designed to be a long-term getting power over alcohol concept. It can be, but as I was referring to earlier, when most people attempt a 30-day challenge, they feel like they're in a prison, and then they get to day 30 and they want to drink. Now, the way that we do our 30-day no alcohol challenge is a little different. We show the neuroscience. We support people to get what they're getting as opposed to saying no to what they don't want. So we introduce the concepts that we have in Project 90. And many people do continue on alcohol-free as a result. But it's really designed to just be a first step for people who are a little unsure. Project 90 is really a full comprehensive coaching experience where you have like-minded CEOs and executives and business owners. There's coaching calls every single day. We have addiction experts. We have mindset coaches. We have meditation coaches. We've got sleep experts. We have all kinds of people that would support our clients in personal development. It's not just we're going to be crapping on about stopping drinking alcohol for 90 days.
Yeah.
It's really about building up the human in all areas, conscious communication, how to speak to your wife or husband or your loved one without it turning into an argument. Because all of these things contribute to people craving alcohol. So if we can help people sleep better, make good nutritional choices, exercise, get outside, walk in the sun, journal, gratitude, the cravings for alcohol just dissipate. And so that's a really much more comprehensive 90-day experience as opposed to a 30-day do-it-yourself program.
And do you join a cohort when you start? And like, what is the timing of that?
Yeah, it's evergreen. So it starts whenever you want. It doesn't start on a certain day. So a lot of times we have people who are on day 75 or day 80 and they're alcohol free and they're feeling great. And then they'll be on a group coaching call with someone who's on day 1 or day 2. And so the day 1 or the day 2 person is like, wow, look what's possible. There's someone there on day 75 or 80. And the person who's feeling great about the fact they're on day 75 and day 80 then turn into somewhat of a mentor for the person who's on day 1 or 2.
That's brilliant.
So the coaches do a lot of the heavy lifting when someone's on kind of, day 1 to day 7. But after a while, as clients get more confidence and they're increasingly loving alcohol free and they've rewired their mindset, they turn into the mentors. And what I've learned is that the fastest way to learn anything is to teach. So a lot of our clients, when they're on day 75, 80, day 90, they end up teaching. We encourage them to teach. And you can teach just by sharing your experience candidly. You don't have to go to a university and study and be licensed and all that kind of stuff. You can just share what worked for you, what didn't work for you. And that is teaching. And not only do you then give the gift of that lesson to the person who's just starting, but you reinforce the lesson in your own mind.
I love that. Yeah, I frankly, I don't know if there's a better way to teach than through your own experience, because that is just so true for people, and that resonates, right?
Yes.
When someone's sharing that. Yeah, I love that. That's such a brilliant setup. Amazing. What got you into blue light? Because like 10 years ago, those are the early days as far as as far as I can tell.
Yeah, so I have a sleep company called Swanwick Sleep, and we produce these blue light blocking glasses, which when you wear them in the last hour or so before sleep, it blocks the artificial blue light that messes with your melatonin release. And the benefit of that is that when you ultimately remove the glasses and go to sleep, you end up sleeping better. You sleep more deeply, you wake up feeling more refreshed, because light really can mess with our sleep quality. So all the way back in 2015, I was at a Palm Springs, California hotel restaurant with a friend of mine, and he walked into the restaurant wearing this really ugly pair of orange Uvex safety glasses, kind of like looked like a meth chemist.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there looking at him going, what are you doing? And there was a table of quite attractive ladies at the adjacent table, and they're looking at him weird. And I said to my friend, you look ridiculous and you're making me look ridiculous by association. Get them off.
Yeah.
He's like, no, man, I'm trying to block the blue light. I'm like, block the blue light? What are you talking about? And then he went on to explain to me what I just shared, which is artificial light from restaurant lights, hotel lights, a microwave light, refrigerator light, the speedometer light in your car, the McDonald's golden arches lights as you're driving along the freeway. All of that light at night disrupts our melatonin release. And so because orange is the opposite of the color blue, blue light don't get through. That's why he was wearing orange glasses. Now, I understood and appreciated the concept and the science. I believed it. I just didn't want to look like a meth chemist doing so.
Yes.
So I came up with this idea of creating a stylish pair of blue blockers. And at that time, 2015, the blue blockers on the market were horrendous. They just terribly ugly. I was living in West Hollywood, California at the time, very fashion conscious, worried about how I looked and wanted to be cool. So I'm like, I'm going to like create a pair of blue blockers that kind of look like a pair of Ray-Bans. And so that's what my youngest brother, Tristan, and I did. We created a stylish pair of blue blockers. We put it out in the market. We did $1 million in sales in the first year. They just went out of the gate. There were blue blockers on the market, but there weren't stylish ones on the market. And it really grew from there. The biohacking community really got into us right from the beginning. Like they loved us. I went on a pretty popular podcast at the time called Bulletproof Radio from a guy called Dave Asprey.
Heck yeah.
And that just supercharged our sales. And then over the years, they've now been adopted by pro athletes, the New York Knicks, Tottenham Hotspur in the English Premier League, Manchester United players, the New Orleans Saints players were wearing the Swannies blue light blocking glasses. They're affectionately known from our customers as Swannies, these glasses. And there was a university scientific study which verified the efficacy of them, which was amazing. And I think that's why it's been adopted by pro athletes and pro sports teams. And now we have this increasing science, I guess, about the importance of sleeping well and also the detrimental effects of being exposed to artificial light at night.
Yeah, that's amazing. I told you over text that Dr. John Lawrence had a pair of yours on. I was like, dude, where did you get those? Those are so rad. He looks so cool. And so I have a pair of them at home. But what I love about yours as well is they're affordable because they can get the ones that are inexpensive on Amazon don't work from what I understand. And the ones that do work that are out in the market aside from yours are north of $120, $130. And I want to say yours are half that.
Yeah,
generally.
we're sub $100.
Yeah.
We have a couple of pairs that are up around the 150, but that's got titanium frames and things like that. And for prescription wearers, if we're going to create a pair of prescription glasses, it costs a little bit more. But yeah, most of them are under $100. Yeah.
Yeah, people get to test it out to see the efficacy of it works for them. I've loved them. I mean, I've recently saw I don't know if you were into Led Zeppelin at all, but the new movie came out called Becoming Led Zeppelin. Amazing. But I saw it twice last week, and it's the first time I've been to the movie theater in quite a while. And I wore the nighttime blue light blockers, and I would just like take them off to see what the difference was, and it hurt. It was like you get so used to the intensity of all that light that I think people when just try it however you want, but like just doing that little test of wearing them for a while, taking them off and watching your screen that you normally watch, it was pretty intense for me.
Yeah. The absolute worst thing we can do is go to bed at night, turn off all the lights and stare into our cell phone without wearing a pair of quality blue blockers. Because what we're doing is we're essentially telling our brain it's still daytime, even though it's clearly nighttime. So when that artificial light hits our pituitary gland, it tells our brain, oh, it's daytime. Okay, I'm not going to release the melatonin that I ordinarily would at this time of night. That's where the problem comes in. So that shows up with either trouble falling asleep or we don't spend as long in that deep REM restorative phase of sleep, which is why we can wake up feeling tired and irritable and stressed, even if we've had 7 or 8 hours. It's just the quality of the sleep hasn't been great. I'll tell you what I candidly do. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I take my phone into bed with me, and I know I absolutely shouldn't. That's not optimal living. But when I do that on those rare occasions, I'm always wearing my pair of orange lens Swannies blue blockers.
Yeah.
And so that is enough to block that damaging blue light. So even though, yes, I'm on electronics at a time when I shouldn't be, I'm still protecting my eyes from that artificial blue light with a pair of the Swannies blue blockers.
Yeah, I love that. Do you have any thoughts around people wearing sunglasses? Have you dug into that much?
Yeah, I was on a podcast last year, a gentleman by the name of Tim Gray, who's the UK's best biohacker, I would submit. Very, very thorough. And he actually introduced me to this idea that you're actually more susceptible to sunburn if you wear sunglasses. Is that where you were going with this?
Yeah, it was mentioned. I think Dr. Jack Kruse talked about this, or his kind of protege, and I'm blanking on her name. She's amazing, but he's obviously big into the blue light and the like. And they actually talked about like you basically won't get sunburn if you don't wear sunglasses. Now I don't know. That seems like a bit of a stretch, but I have heard that, and I've also heard like. I just know from my own experience, like just getting sunlight into these eyes is such a way to nourish our energy. And
yes, Tim Gray, the biohacker from the UK, said as much as that. I think the concept is, and forgive me if I get this wrong because I've only have a surface level understanding, but when we wear sunglasses, the body again thinks that it's nighttime, so the skin receptors are more susceptible to sunlight, and so we get sunburn. Whereas if we're not wearing sunglasses and the sunlight is hitting our eyes and the body knows that it's sunny outside, it naturally puts more of its defense mechanisms on. That makes sense to me.
That makes perfect sense to me. Yeah, I'm down with that.
Listen, just go and experiment. I haven't actually experimented with it myself yet, but I will say this. Since I learned this, I haven't worn a pair of sunglasses since, but I also haven't been sunburnt since either. So I can't say definitively, but I believe that concept. I'm going to keep experimenting with it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't worn them for quite a while. Every now and then I'll throw a pair on because they maybe look cool. And I bought a pair on Instagram that were from a brand back when I was a kid, Varney, and I was like, I still haven't worn them, but they look so cool. But then I'm like, I don't really have much occasion to wear them because, again, I'm a fan of the sun. This has been awesome, man. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to share with people that maybe we didn't cover yet?
Only that I have a book that's out on April 8th, and depending on when you're seeing or listening to this, it's called Clear, the only neuroscience-based approach to help high achievers finally break free from alcohol. And in the book, I've put in the same process that we walk our clients through. So if someone wants to explore living an alcohol-free lifestyle and they want the step-by-step formula, or they just want to, challenge their own notions around alcohol, then you can check that book out at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/clear. It's also available online wherever books are sold, like Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Yeah, I think that's it. I would also just say I've had a life with alcohol and a life without, and without is far superior in every facet: health, wealth, love, happiness, relationships. And even though it can feel scary to go against cultural conditioning, all of the growth and all of the beautiful elements of life come from leaning into that resistance and taking the action anyway. And much like the analogy I used earlier, stop sitting on your backside in the stands watching people play. Get on the court and play. And if you do that, man, life is just going to feel extraordinary.
Yeah, I love that. And I would say that anyone listening today, if they were feeling the nudge at all, I think you've laid out just such a beautiful, loving way for them to experience a greater part of their life and the things they want to do. So thanks for doing that. And it's just a beautiful, very approachable kind of way to share this wisdom. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. And you ask great questions. And I also observe that you're very good at letting your guest just speak, and there's a tendency, I think, from interviewers, and I think I can speak on this because I hosted a TV show and kind of learn some skills about interviewing and then also being the interviewee, but you definitely allow space for your guests to share their expertise. So for that, I thank you, sir.
No, I appreciate that. Thanks so much. Yeah. Cheers.